install Horizon on the Steam Deck. Just a couple of things to note before we get started. So the first thing to note is that this is being recorded on December 26th of 2022, only a week after the launch. There have been many breaking changes since the launcher has come out, and many other changes to the game client. So if you have any sort of like basic knowledge of Linux, like if the words bash, proton, KDE, Dolphin mean anything to you, then you might want to actually take a look at the written guide that I'm looking at right now. If looking at like these commands, you kind of understand what these mean, you're better off going here. This is probably the most up-to-date information available. This video is mostly for people who that sounds a little foreign, and we're going to step through it step by step as of today. But this guide will inevitably probably become out of date over time. And there's no guarantees that it will be updated. Who knows, maybe the community will take up the reins and leave some comments or something to keep it up to date, but it's unlikely that I will do that. So first things first, you need to get your Steam Deck into desktop mode. I've already done that. You can see because we're in KDE here. I'm actually controlling this on my computer right now, which is what I'm using to record. There's an application called Steam Link that you can use. You can download it either from Steam itself, or there's software you can install, I think maybe even the Discover Store, or you can download it for Windows as well. You're going to probably want to grab that. This essentially allows you to use your Steam Deck casted to your computer. This client's for Android and iOS, I think, as well. Maybe a tablet if you've got that and you don't have a computer, and this is going to be your primary device. It's just going to make it a lot easier. You can use a keyboard and mouse to set this up. Doing this with the Dex trackpad and the on-screen keyboard is obviously doable, but you're going to type a lot slower. If you don't have that, maybe consider hooking up a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse or something like that to your deck temporarily to get this working, as you're going to be copying and pasting commands. But if you can't, trackpad and on-screen keyboard is definitely viable. I'm already booted into it though. Second thing you're going to want to do is follow the directions here and go to the Discover Store. And you're going to want to install Proton-GE up. I've already got it installed, but it's really just as simple as kind of going here and searching for the application. It looks like my Wi-Fi is being a little bit slow, but you'll actually eventually see it in the installed list here. Under Proton-GE. Looks like Discover's having problems right now, but that's okay. It looks something like this. It says unused. That's not actually true. It's just unused by like Steam native games, but we're actually going to use it for like a non-Steam native game, which is Horizon here. You can add a version. You know, this is pretty straightforward. Basically, you want to do 742. 743 may work. I know 740 doesn't because it doesn't have the IMM3 patch, I believe, or the run as patch. 742 definitely does. 743 will likely work, but the only thing that I'm guaranteeing this will work on is 742. It's the only thing that's been tested. So that's what we're going to go with. And then you're going to need Firefox and Steam. I mean, these should come pre-installed at time of recording, but if not for some reason, then obviously you're going to need those. So the first thing we're going to do is, because of a bug in the current launcher, which the developers are trying to fix, but it's not fixed at time of writing, so we're going to download the first version of the launcher here. There is a way to avoid doing this, but typically we tell people to just do this anyway because it's the path of least resistance. So we'll go ahead and we'll download this. And then we're going to run these commands. We're going to do these one by one. So to do that, we're going to go to the Steam Deck launcher, open up console here. And it looks like I've resized my console to something that's literally unusable, so I've double-clicked the title bar there to go ahead and expand that. We're just going to run these commands one by one. So we're going to make that directory. We're going to copy this, cd into this directory, run this. You can actually run this all as one script if you want, but if there's any errors, then they're not going to get formatted properly, and you may not catch them. So you're better off maybe running them one by one. For those not familiar with Linux, this is a bash shell, and we're running commands one by one. So cp means copy, mkdir means make directory, cd means change directory, so go into that directory. 7z is just 7-zip, so we're just extracting stuff. Typically under bash or Unix in general as well, if there's no output, it means that the command succeeded. So you can see under like CP here, there was nothing that happened on the next line. That means the copy succeeded. Alternatively, like if you do this make directory here again, you'll get an error that tells you that like the directory couldn't be created because it already exists. So you should be getting essentially no output on a lot of these commands. The exception is this 7-zip. It actually does print stuff to the screen. You should see everything is okay. If everything is okay and you've run all these commands, then everything should be good. I'm just going to extract it again. You don't need to. I'm just demonstrating everything is okay. Good. So again, just to double check, you're going to run all of these one by one. You can run all of these again if you're not sure. It's totally safe to do. Worst case, you're just going to get like maybe a directory already exists there, and maybe you're going to copy some stuff again that you didn't need to do. Okay, great. So we've already installed the latest G742. If you haven't done that, you should go ahead and do that. Next, we're going to go to Steam here. We're going to go to Games, and we're going to add non-Steam game to library. We're going to hit Browse. We're going to go find that folder. So Home Deck, okay. And we created a HorizonXI directory. We're going to go lib net45, change this to all files. We're going to use the launcher, not the execution stub, but the launcher. We're going to hit open. We're going to hit add select program. But if it's not coming up, what's likely happened here is you forgot to set the compatibility. So just make sure that in the compatibility here on the properties, so if you right click this, hit properties, hit compatibility, the GE Proton 742 is set. So we're going to hit play. You get the launcher. It's also been noted to me that some people have issues with the Steam overlay. So if that's the case, you might actually want to go into settings here and just disable this. It is. But I did set remember auto log in, which I would recommend you do. So from here, we're just going to hit install HorizonXI. We're going to get prompted for somewhere to put it. If you're using your internal drive, you should just click C drive. If you're using SD, you might be tempted to try to find it on like Z drive or something and navigate to your drive. Don't do that. How Proton works is it creates a virtual Windows directory structure in what's called a prefix to store all your files. So you'll see actually here that it looks like we're installing Windows. This is actually like a Windows directory structure that's been created for us just for this game. So you're going to want to just select it like you would any other ordinary game. So we can just go C drive, program files perhaps, and install it here. I'll show you what to do if you need a micro SD in a minute, but for now you should follow exactly as instructed. So you'll see we'll start downloading. This old version of the launcher had a memory leak, so there's a chance that this download will actually finish, but there's a very good chance it won't. So we're not going to take any chances, and instead what we're going to do is we're actually going to just kill the launcher, and we're going to go ahead and upgrade our launcher now. So to do that, we're going to go find the latest version of the Horizon site. Oh, I had two of these open by accident from double-clicking earlier. Which can be found on the GitHub or the site. Last night, there was actually an issue with 1.1 not working on Windows at all. But we're going to go ahead and just try it anyway, because they did apparently hotfix it. Hence these known issues. If it doesn't work, we'll go back a version, but why not? We'll try it. And to upgrade, there's a script that you can use that is linked here, but you can also just run these steps manually as well, which is all the script does. For the sake of like showing you again, I'm going to just do it manually, but you can read the full post to find the steps. So we're just going to change the numbers here, right? So I changed that to 1.11. Good. We'll CD in, but I've already CD'd in, we can skip it. We copy to the installer, we'll use A for overwrite all always. And we'll do this again, just changing the version number for the next step. Okay. And so now, if we hit play, we should end up on the new launcher. As you'll see in the title bar there, we're running 1.111. Great. So this version won't have any of the memory leaks and should work out of the box. And if you hit install, it should install completely. There's a couple things now that you might want to note before you start this. So I'm going to show those really quickly now. So we'll close out of the launcher and we'll open up Dolphin here. So if you actually search the internet, you can find this move compat data on Reddit. There's other posts too. If you got the 64 gig model in particular, you're probably going to want to do this if you don't. The install actually takes 40 gigabytes, and I think the zip is 12. So you actually need like, I think almost 50 gigabytes of stored data to install this thing. On a 64 gig Steam Deck, that's not enough because the OS is going to take up at least a fraction of that. So as a result, you can actually move the compat data that we've created to a micro SD. I don't have one, so I can't actually show you how it's done, but this post has a pretty good direction on how to do it. The only thing I will show you is where you'll actually find your HorizonXI stuff. So if you actually go into the folders that it tells you to go into, I think I've actually got hidden files disabled, but you can just do that to find it. And you basically just follow exactly what is listed here, right? So we're going to go into Steam, and just to show you, so we're already in Home, we'll Steam Apps Compat Data. And so Steam Apps, and then we'll go Compat Data. And so I've got a bunch of these, obviously. But if we search by modified, then we've got one 12 minutes ago, right? If we go to PFX and then drive C, this is the virtual Windows file system that I was talking about that was created, right? We got a HorizonXI file. So this is probably the right folder, right? And so we'll just go up. I'm using Alt up to go up. You can just use the buttons at the back if you want as well. So this is the folder. So we would essentially follow these directions for our micro SD, right? So we would copy this to the micro SD, and then we would drag it back to create a link. This creates a symbolic link, and basically will move the entire install and virtual drive over to your micro SD. So if you're installing on a micro SD, you're going to have to do that. Unfortunately, I can't show you how to do it. I don't have one installed in this machine. Maybe if I get one or somebody gives me one at some point, then maybe I can do an amendment to show you how to do it. But it should be pretty straightforward. You would essentially open up a new tab, find your drive in here, drag, and then drag back, just like it shows you to do in here. There's probably videos online you can find of how to do this as well, so I won't harp on this too much. We'll keep this folder open for now, though, because we're going to need it in just a moment. And then after if you are installing on your internal drive, though, no problem, everything's going to work fine. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to do a cut now, and I'm actually going to install the game. My connection's pretty fast, but not super fast, and it's pretty boring, so I'll cut away and show you and come back when it's done. If you already have it on a PC, you can also copy the zip file to the downloads folder here as well to speed this up if your internet's quite slow. This is probably what I'm going to do when I cut away. So for example, if you go to Horizons and then downloads, there's actually like a zip you can drop in here. I think the tech support FAQ on Discord has it. You can use like Warpinator, for example. You can Google for it to actually transfer this if you want, or SSH if you're familiar. If all this sounds like a lot of work or foreign and you don't understand words like SSH or Warpinator looks too difficult, don't worry about it. You can just let the launcher download it. Everything will work. The latest doesn't have a memory leak. All right, we'll cut back when we're good. Here we are. We are now done. The game is ready to play. A couple things we should still change. You can really do the Windows resolution for super sampling if you want, but I would definitely set borderless windowed. One thing to note if you don't change the window resolution is that Ashita has a bug where the mouse position doesn't match the screen coordinates properly. So dragging stuff like the mini-map, if you use it on screen using the mouse, will actually be slightly offset. You can change this to the DeX resolution 1280 by 800. It'll look slightly worse due to lack of super sampling, but the mouse will probably work. I prefer to have this on, so I'm just going to leave it. And I don't use the mini-map add-on anyway, so or mouse at all, really, so this doesn't really affect me. Same thing with Ashen Bubs. Like, this is going to maybe reduce your frame rate a little bit in heavy situations. But generally speaking, it's not really a problem, so you can leave it on. Default settings are fine. Again, you can leave the stuff pretty much stock if you'd like. If you get the black screen issue, you can look at the patcher that's available on Discord for tech support, or you can reduce your background resolution. This stuff all works. Configure any add-ons and stuff you want as well inside here. I'll throw in a couple basic ones just to show that it works. All maps is probably fine, and maybe distance, because you can see that in the UI well. Again, I don't use minimap, but it does work. You can turn it on if you'd like. I have macros bound to map and stuff like that. The one thing you'll notice that doesn't work though is that the gamepad is cut off. This is because the launcher is actually too big and the Horizon devs have hard-coded the resolution of the screen to be too large. If you actually tab over, you can actually reach gamepad config and launch it by using tab. I've actually had problems with it on the old launcher and it doesn't quite map properly, so I've opted to actually modify my config manually. I've been told actually on the new launcher that it might actually work now and you can map. Feel free to try it if you'd like, but I'm actually not going to do that today. Instead, I'm just going to use my pre-configured stuff that I already know works. So in that folder we were looking at earlier, you know, this prefix folder, you can actually go into Drive and go into Steam User, Application Data, Horizon, and open up this config.json. It's going to open this text editor. You can actually just search for like gamepad. We can go to the post we've got here somewhere. We can actually just copy some configs. These are a mishmash of my settings and another user who have credited on the site. So kudos to the community for coming up with these settings. They map closely to a normal X input controller. These don't have to line up, it's up to you. I'm just doing it to format it pretty, but it's JSON, white space is not significant. And this maps roughly to how, you know, a PS2 or an Xbox controller might expect to work out of the box. These are just key codes or button codes, and we'll paste that in. We'll save. So now we're pretty much good to go. You can do any other configuration or stuff you want. One other thing you can do as well is add some artwork. This is completely optional. You can download these assets right here. We can go to downloads and we could add artwork by basically setting a custom background, stuff like that. I'm not going to do that right now. It's just going to make the video longer for no reason. But you know, you can look up how to do this online. You basically can set custom backgrounds and logos and libraries and things like that. Okay, we're in game mode. Play. You'll notice that there's no artwork there. That's kind of what you can fix if you'd like by adding custom assets, but it's not really necessary. Okay, we're here. We're gonna shut down the music because the launcher actually stays in the background. It's pretty harmless, although you might want to turn your seating off. Again, up to you. There's actually a way to get this to not stay in the background as well, but it's not really completely necessary at this point. We're just going to show the bare minimum to get it set up. You can always hit the text guide later for all the notes. Okay, we're using the gamepad here. It might be a little small for your liking. If your eyes are not super good, you can change the menu resolution for this, of course, right? We have it set to 1080p right now, which is going to make things quite small. You can blow that up. It's going to be a comfort thing. Okay, that's it. Run out of salt there. You can copy open the on-screen keyboard with SteamX and all sorts of other stuff, but configuration from here on out is mostly SteamX specific stuff and 14 stuff, or 11 stuff, so there's really no need to cover it in the guide. Some things you might want to do off the top of my head is maybe make some macros for toggling FPS if you care about that sort of thing. Obviously set up all your different sorts of configurations that you might have done on a desktop machine. Split chat windows, timer add-ons and stuff like that. You can copy them over from a desktop install too, just to that prefix directory if you'd like. You probably don't want an identical setup though. The deck screen is a lot smaller, so you probably don't want to clutter it as much as the desktop screen. So I'm not really going to cover all that, so I'm just going to cut the network in here.